Bulletproof Radio, a state of high performance.
Hey, it's Dave Asprey with Bulletproof Radio. Today's cool fact of the day is that expression, sweating like a pig, doesn't really make any sense. It doesn't make sense because pigs really don't sweat very much. Maybe that's why bacon tastes good, I don't know. But you know this because pigs roll around in mud and water to cool off. The phrase sweating like a pig is actually a reference to pig iron, which sweats as it cools off after you mold it. So it turns out that like our capacity to make things out of metal got confused with pigs, which is, well, kind of funny when you think about it. Today's product of the month, which is kind of an oxymoron, it should be like this month's product of the month, but whatever, is Homebiotic. You can pick this stuff up on bulletproof.com. And if you don't know about Homebiotic, this is a new kind of indoor bacteria spray that you can use to inoculate your house with healthy bacteria. We talk so much about the bacteria in your gut, but we are supposed to have bacteria in the environment around us. And this is a way to get probiotics that are basically spread around your home so that if there is humidity, condensation, water damage, things like that, you'll have a balanced ecology rather than an imbalanced ecology that can lead to things like toxic mold. It's called Homebiotic, like probiotic, but for your home. And it's something that I've been working on for almost 2.5 years and started the company that makes Homebiotic. So this is like part of my core mission here to make everyone perform better. And this is one of the ways you can do it by just making this little tweak. Every 3 to 6 months, you just mist a little bit around your house. Doesn't take much. And boom, there you go. Homebiotic. Today's episode is going to be awesome. And if you're watching on our YouTube channel, you can totally tell just already by looking. And in fact, our YouTube channel, that's bulletproofexec.com/YouTube will take you right there and you can subscribe and there's all kinds of other stuff that you probably haven't seen. The guests today, though, are Lauren Berlingeri and Katie Kaps, the founders of HigherDOSE, which is a new company that brings infrared to yoga and fitness, which is awesome. Because if you've been listening for a while, you already know that I have an infrared sauna and really, really appreciate what it can do. I have a sun-lightened sauna. Before that, starting in like 97, I've had my own infrared sauna, and it's a core part of detox and healing. The problem is it takes a long time, at least for me, to sweat in there because maybe I'm in such good shape or maybe I just don't sweat that much. So I like to think it's the former, not the latter. But the idea of exercising while you're under this is a really interesting idea. So we're going to talk about that, which is, well, that higher dose and all that. But before that, I just want to give you guys a little bit of a background on Lauren and Katie. Lauren, you've probably seen. She's also Canadian. Well, I'm not Canadian. I just live here. I'm like a squatter. But she's a Canadian host, a fitness expert, and an international model. And you've seen her in Woman vs. Workout, which got like 10 million views and won her a Webby Award nomination. By the way, we have that in common. Bulletproof Radio got a Webby Award, which just completely blew me away. You've been in women. Yeah, that was awesome that you guys got one. I was like, cool. I think you're the first Webby Award winners on the show. Also, Lauren, we've both been featured in Women's Health magazine, which was on my list. I wanted to be in Glamour magazine and Women's Health, and apparently I got in both. And I was like, did that really just happen? I'm a Silicon Valley like tech guy. Like, what's going on here? But it's cool. Now, Katie, you left Wall Street for Silicon Valley because you just like startups. You've been a venture capitalist. Bam, we've both done that kind of work. Awesome. And second in command at the San Francisco Marathon. Tough Mudder and Worth the Hurt Tough Mudder. So like you guys are basically two, I think the technical term is badasses. Is that?
We'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take that.
Yeah,
we like to consider ourselves together. We make the best businesswoman and just passionate person.
So do each of you have your own invisible jet or do you share one?
We're together all the time, so we share one.
True fact. Right behind me outside, there's a sign that says invisible jet parking only. All others will be towed. So you guys are welcome to land here if you need to.
Definitely.
We're all set. Great.
So let's talk about what you're doing because it's new and innovative around the infrared sauna. And I want to make sure that people listening get something that they can take home. So if they're not near a HigherDOSE location, we can talk about what infrared sauna does. We can talk about, should they be doing air squats in their little infrared sauna? So just make sure that we know what you're doing, which is a total hack, like in a good way. versus what someone could do at home to maybe get some of the benefits. First off, let's talk about infrared. So give me like the definition of it, the way you guys are using it, the different kinds. Can I just get everybody warmed up on what infrared is? I did not plan that.
Well, I can start with that. Infrared is a very therapeutic style of heating. So it heats the body instead of the air. As you know, sometimes when the air gets heated and it heats the body superficially, it could be extremely taxing on the body and end up being quite depleting, and you get overheated. Where infrared heats the body, it's a gentle way of heating. It's actually a much more natural way of heating, and it mimics the sun's rays, which is very therapeutic. But what happens is it raises your core body temperature, which is the same thing that happens when you work out or if you lay out in the sun. So you actually don't feel that hot, but you sweat a lot. So you get all the beauty of traditional heating, while you sweat and you get your heart rate sped up. It's really exciting, but it feels super gentle and you're not that hot and it's super comfortable. So that's kind of an overview or an idea of infrared and how it differs from traditional heating.
So last night I was in my infrared sauna. It got up to like 149 degrees.
It didn't feel like it at all.
I was kind of hot. I mean, I was watching 2 episodes of Longmire, this TV show about this cowboy redneck guy. But 2 episodes was probably a little long to be spending my infrared sauna. I was maybe dizzy, even though I drank a lot of water. And granted, that probably wasn't the most intelligent thing to do, to cook for like whatever that was, almost 2 hours. So what's the right amount of time?
Never done that before. No.
Let's see what happened in the end. Amazingly, he survived. That's how it works.
Yeah.
But so how long should you be in an infrared sauna?
I would say if you're starting off, anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes. But I mean, Katie and I, we go 2 to 3 times a week now. We're both very fit. We both consider ourselves to be not as toxic because we've done so many series of infrared saunas. So we actually go in for an hour now. But everybody's different. Everybody's at a different level. Everyone's at a different fitness level. So it really just depends on the person. You just got to feel your body, feel where you're at, and feel what feels good for you.
So what about sunlight? Isn't that nature's infrared?
It is. Yeah. Infrared is all around us all the time. We're just isolating it and putting it in one spot and using extra wavelengths to give you a more therapeutic sweat. But you're right. There's infrared in the sun. There's infrared anytime you feel heat naturally. That is infrared. So, the infrared sauna is just going in a certain area and getting a certain amount of heat and a certain amount of wavelengths that promotes certain detoxifying benefits that are extremely healthy for you. So you get it all in one spot.
So we have these traditional cultures who don't have that much sunlight, like Sweden, Norway, places like that.
100%.
And they do the traditional heats, like dry heat or wet heat saunas with steam. And then sometimes they go roll around in ice when they're done because they're crazy. But walk through the difference between a traditional sauna or like a sweat lodge kind of thing where you're getting that kind of heat versus infrared. What are the pros and cons of each side?
Right. So infrared is, again, it heats the body, not the air, whereas traditional saunas heat the air.
But why would I care? Like, okay, so what's wrong with hot air? It seems to warm me up.
Right. So like when you go into an infrared sauna, it's extremely therapeutic because it doesn't feel so hot on the skin. It doesn't burn your hair. You don't have to have your jewelry off. Whereas traditional saunas, in order to get it up to a certain temperature for you to start sweating, it has to be way too hot and it starts to, heat up that air. So you'd want to wrap your hair. You want to make sure that, you can't breathe in that deep because that hot air is starting to burn your lungs. So it's just a much more uncomfortable feeling in a traditional sauna than it is for an infrared. Whereas the infrared, you walk in and you're like, oh, it's nice in here. But once you start to stay in there for a long period of time, that's when it starts to heat up the body. And that's when you start to sweat a lot. But they're 2 different, very different feelings. We like to compare it as like, a Miami heat where it's, really hot. It's really swampy, and you get really tired when it's,
suffocating.
Yeah, when the moisture's in the air too much, as opposed to a really nice dry heat. In the dry heat, you feel hot, but you feel like you just want to drink more water to cool down the body. You're not kind of like exhausted or tired. So it's that same feeling. When you get in that infrared sauna, you get full of energy. It still speeds up your heart rate to the pace of like jogs, so your endorphins are going. you get really excited. So you feel like you want to move in there. You feel really strong. Whereas the traditional saunas, you feel really tired. Your posture starts to go. You kind of start to lean forward. And you just get really tired really easily. And you can't stay in there as long as you can with the infrared.
And I think the most important fact is that the infrared sauna is actually 7 times more detoxifying than a traditional sauna.
No, I did a Native American sweat lodge thing a while back when I was, this is with Alberto Villotto's training, who's been a guest on the show a couple times. And I was sitting next to an anesthesiologist, and I'm like, there's a very good chance I'm about to pass out. And he's like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, drag me outside if I pass out. But like I was getting tunnel vision. And so, all right, there's a little bit of discomfort that can come. By the way, I did not pass out. I just had to like lay down and like hug the earth for a while, get all muddy. It was not exactly like my infrared experience, but I'm sure it was good for me.
But it's not the same idea, though. The sweat lodges are very spiritual. You sweat out whatever's not serving you. It's the same thing as the infrared. It's just a lot more gentle. You still sweat out whatever's not serving you. Like Katie said, you detox 7 times more. So you get rid of all the impurities.
I was going to ask about that 7 times more number. Is that based on a study, or which impurities are we talking about? Like where do you get 7 times? Because that's a big claim. I believe it actually, but I haven't seen data on that.
Yeah, it is based on a study that we can send over to you that basically found that heat induced by a traditional heating source pulls out 3% toxins, whereas heat induced by infrared pulls out 20% toxins.
And what kind of toxins are we talking about?
Yeah, the toxins are, a lot different because traditional style of heating, it's environmental pollutants, thing that you get from eating or in the air or, even from clothes. But it's known that infrared actually penetrates 7 times deeper, and it pulls out heavy metal and radiation out of the body, which is huge. It actually pulls it out of your fat cells and in your brain, which is extremely hard to detoxify unless doing an infrared or really high doses of spirulina or something really extreme. Those are really difficult things to detoxify from. So it's not just, your traditional environmental pollutants, it's the heavy metals and radiation on top of that. And we know that that's a big problem nowadays. So
it's one of the only ways to detox from heavy metals, period.
I bought my first infrared sauna a long time ago because I had mercury toxicity.
Oh, wow.
It also helps with Lyme disease and toxic mold and all kinds of stuff. So
the list goes on and on. It helps. It can help with almost anything.
Especially muffin top. Does it work for that?
It burns calories while you're in there. You don't even have to. Yeah. So it definitely eats away your muffin top.
And I know neither of you has ever experienced that, but like when you see other people with it is what I'm saying.
Well, we're not going to lie. Like we definitely love going in there because we know we get a workout while we're in there. Yeah. So it doesn't matter who you are or what your fitness goals are. You can always benefit from an extra workout.
And you can see the difference the next morning if you do it. You wake up, you're like, oh, look at those abs, right?
Like I'm like, ooh, my skin is so soft and I'm like so calm and I had an amazing sleep. And it's not like this miracle thing where overnight you have abs. That doesn't exactly happen. But over time, if you use it consistently enough, it's just like jogging or running. You burn calories. So it's always going to add to any extra exercise or lifestyle that you're
You're not gonna grow abs overnight, but you will, like if you have inflammation that's covering them up, you will see more definition the next morning, right? Like if
water, if you hold on a lot of water, it's definitely gonna get rid of that extra water for you. So you'll see a difference as soon as you come out. Just depends on who you are, and some people don't hold a lot of water, some people do. So
now it burns about, from your website, 600 calories an hour in an infrared sauna. How many potato chips is that?
2 bags.
Well, it depends if you're in the infrared sauna eating the potato chips or if you eat them after or before.
Because the thermogenic action of raising the potato chip up and whether or not it's got
like doing the yoga in the infrared. It adds extra calorie burn because you're eating. But
we were actually thinking of selling potato chips alongside the sauna so that they just cancel each other out.
And then
coming back for both.
Yeah. Pretty much.
It's like Snickers and Diet Coke. There's nothing there once you eat them together.
Exactly.
Right? All right. So, but 600 calories an hour is actually a pretty meaningful amount compared to even like being on a treadmill or something, right?
Yeah. And I mean, we don't like to get specific about the number as everybody is different, depends on the size of you. Like a bigger person is going to get like their heart rate up a lot more. Yeah. Whereas if you're a smaller person, your heart rate's probably not going to get as high. But you can burn up to 1,000 calories depending on who you are. But yeah, it's a significant amount of calories that you burn. We like to compare it to a light jog. So however long you're in the sauna for, that's how long you're doing a light jog for.
And the difference on your joints is pretty substantial there.
Oh yeah, I mean, one gives back to your joints and recovers, and the other one, takes away. So I really do believe in recovery, especially because I did a lot with Women versus Workout, and I did these extreme challenges, and it just took me forever to get back. My nervous system was all out of whack, and I was like, if I'm going to train like an athlete, I need to recover like an athlete, and that's where really I fell in love with infrared.
So now at HigherDOSE, this is you guys use a special kind of infrared heater, and you also have how many locations now?
We have 4 locations now. So unfortunately, they're not our locations. We are suppliers.
Okay.
But we do a lot with promoting, and we tell the story. We're doing a lot with media, and we're just pushing this whole movement with infrared. So we like to consider ourselves partners with the yoga studios, but they're not exactly ours.
They're not yours. Cool.
Yeah.
And are these are all New York studios, or where are they based?
There is 2 in New York, and then we have 1 in Washington, 1 in Texas, and 1 in California.
Oh, no kidding. Which part of California?
Yep. So California is new for us too. There's also like some places in San Francisco that are interested, but the recent studio that we just did was where's Sparks?
Outside of Seattle.
Outside of Seattle.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right. Bulletproof headquarters is.
But what you can do is you can go on our website, and we're going to have a map of all the different locations where you can find the infrared.
Yeah, and our vision is to basically convert every hot studio into a HigherDOSE infrared yoga studio. So hopefully it'll be coming to a studio near you.
So basically you're going to take Bikram down. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. Well, we'd like to take Bikram up in a way. We really do feel like this is just the solution for hot yoga.
Because you're yoga people, so you can be positive instead of competitive, but you can just sort of like accidentally.
No, we're all here to support, and if they're doing good, we're doing good, and we would really love to have every Bikram studio be an infrared studio. They're like perfect match for us.
And so for people listening who don't know about Bikram yoga, that's the yoga where you go in there and it's like 10,000 degrees and everyone sweats on each other. Did I get that right?
It's really stinky in there too as well, because as we know, bacteria grows and breeds in hot places, which is the beauty of infrared, because infrared kills bacteria and any virus outside and inside the body, and it really cleans the air. So it's such a beautiful experience, because not only is the heat more gentle, and not only do you sweat just as much, but it also gets rid of that stinky hot yoga smell, which is, I think, like a huge solution in itself. Yeah.
If I did Bikram yoga, I would surreptitiously mist the place with Homebiotic, because I just don't want weird stuff growing there. It's gross.
Exactly. Yeah. You would have to bring your own Homebiotic spray and make sure that it has just as much good bacteria as it does bad.
Yeah, I've done Bikram a few times actually. It's kind of cool, but it's a little hot for me.
It's
actually it's not cool. It's just hot.
They love to sweat, and when you sweat and your heart rate gets up, you get that high that we're all looking for, and that's what we based our whole company around. How do you get that natural high that's really good for you and doesn't crash you down afterwards? And infrared's really that solution, because it speeds up your heart rate. You feel amazing. You're releasing endorphins. You're releasing serotonin. You feel amazing. So
we like to think of it as the best of wellness meets fitness, because it gives you a workout, but it's also therapeutic and restorative. And we see the whole industry going that way. And we think that our infrared heating systems for yoga studios just represent that trend and bring 2 worlds together.
No, I'm trying to visualize this. I came really close to opening a yoga studio like maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, we should talk then. We can do one together.
No, I was really getting serious. I'd found some like top yoga teachers, and I just wanted one that actually where the yoga teachers would show up on time, because that's always been an issue. Because like yoga teachers are naturally late. That's why they're good yoga teachers. And it was like, no, we want like a well-run yoga studio. And there are some, but like there are also a lot of ones where you're like, I can't believe that you're just doing that. So I looked at this a little bit, and I'm trying to imagine if I had a yoga studio, there's like mirrors on the walls or whatever. I've got to have like a big crystal bowl and some little statues in the corners. But where do you put...
You thought this one, you thought this one out, right?
Totally. I was like, I know a statue dealer. I'm kidding. But where do you put the infrared heaters? Like, are they in the floor? Are they in the ceiling? Like, where do you put them?
They look like speakers. So
Okay.
basically, they hit the corner of where the ceiling and the wall connect, and they just like white, beautiful speakers with some gold trimming and our logo.
You can have that yoga sign.
Huh?
You can have that yoga sign on them, like, maybe in like glitter.
Yeah, it just says HigherDOSE baby right on all over them.
Nice.
But like Katie was saying, they're white because they are covered in clay, which is extremely healing as well. And we really like that, we give off the very ionizing, balancing, cleaning of the air with the clay, and that really takes the infrared to the next level, and we feel it really balances the heat. So that
was my next question.
Yeah.
So the clay's on top of it, sort of, on the white part is the clay? Okay, so there's infrared heater inside, and it hits the clay. So the infrared goes through the clay, and the clay gives off ions.
Exactly. And we got this idea from Korean spas. Korean spas, they love their infrared, but they put the infrared in the wall, and they use natural elements. Some people have laid on infrared rocks. When you really add that negative ionizing healing benefits, it's very grounding to the infrared, which, as you know, heat can sometimes, take you off if you're already a hot person. So the clay really just adds this calming, rounding, really spiritual feeling to the infrared, which is very complimentary.
I had some bioceramic infrared reflective sheets on my bed, and I had to get rid of them.
More often, this is like
I just live in this strange world. It's awesome. And so but I had to stop sleeping on them after like 3 nights because it was so hot. Like infrared is really heating. I'm like, maybe I want my own infrared to like go out into space and heat up the planet instead of heat me up at night.
Yes.
But that idea that changing materials can radically change how heat bounces around, it actually sounded a little bit like a scam. Like, really, you're going to give me bioceramic sheets? Like, whatever. But literally, it was uncomfortably warm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also Under Armour does a great job of this. They have infrared cold gear line. They put infrared into their products so that the shirts don't smell as much. It also heats you up. So if you live in a cold place, you can get that extra thermal heating, and it's extremely therapeutic. So we're not the first people to bring infrared to the world. It's used in so many different ways. And yeah, it's just really awesome.
Okay. So in the HigherDOSE system that you guys use, you also, not on top of the clay, but in addition to the clay, you use carbon and ceramic heaters.
Yep.
What's the deal with those? Is this something people should look at? And by the way, do you sell like home heaters, or this is only for studios?
This is for studios, but we do think that they would fit perfectly into homes. I always imagined, putting one in my bathroom or in my kitchen, anywhere really that you'd want a space heater. As you know, space heaters just make you feel really nauseous. They don't make you feel good because, again, it's this artificial way of heating the body, and the body reacts. It's not a really good feeling where if you plug in the infrared, you just feel great. So I imagine them to be in your bathroom while you're getting ready, in your kitchen, close to a table. It just really brings up the atmosphere and makes everyone feel great. And another thing that you should know about the infrared is that it is on the invisible light spectrum, and the actual wavelengths are what happens when you get hit by the sun. And when the sun hits you, you also feel really good because there's a massive serotonin release, which is really important to note because it's really difficult to get serotonin unless you're out in the sun, whereas you get the sun experience inside your home. It's really beautiful.
Now, a space heater, that's mostly near infrared, though. That's one form of infrared.
That's one form of infrared, but what our partners have done is studied the wavelengths and which ones are the most therapeutic and only offer that. Whereas, as you know, infrared's even in microwaves, which clearly that is not a good wavelength for us.
Wait, are you sure about that? The microwaves have infrared in them?
Yeah, I mean, there's infrared in incubators when babies are prematurely born and you put a baby into an incubator. That's also infrared. It's heat. Anyone can see heat.
That's infrared, right?
Yep. It's infrared. So like anything, you have to get the right wavelengths. And our partners have studied this for over 30 years. We have the most therapeutic wavelengths. We have absolute to none, no EMF, which is huge, electromagnetic fields. And it's just pure therapy. And it's been helping people for so many different years. And it's like, reversing things for people. And it's just extremely healthy for you.
Okay, so you guys have near infrared, mid infrared, and far infrared. You have all three in there. And this is something that is kind of new in infrared technologies. just infrared saunas anyway. I'm more familiar with like the home use or spa use, not the yoga use, which is, I think, a really cool idea. But it wasn't until recently that people started adding near infrared back in, because it turns out there's a heat shock protein and that there's some valuable reasons to have near infrared as well. So I like it that you guys are doing all these different things. What's the difference between mid infrared and far infrared? Because we always like hear far infrared saunas, like they're somehow special. What does the mid infrared do?
Yeah. So it's the wavelengths that are really the big differentiating point here. The wavelengths on near infrared are a lot closer than the far infrared. And then the mid is, the medium wavelength. And with every wavelength, you get different benefits from it. So the far infrared is really great for detoxing, but the near infrared is really good for healing and cell regeneration and killing bacteria. So you would see doctors use over time near infrared to really heal wounds on people and really get the cells to regenerate and get the blood oxygenated and get the blood moving. So it's just a little bit more therapeutic than near is. And the mid is, a little bit more therapeutic than the far, but the far is just pure about sweating and feeling good. And then they've used that mainly in traditional heating systems most.
Cool. One of the things that I think might really blow up what you're doing, especially for home use, is a recent episode of Bulletproof Radio where we talked about what happens when you have blue light, like you find from fluorescent lights and LED lights, without infrared.
Yeah.
And according to this research, when your eyes or other parts of your body are exposed to blue light, it creates stress on the cell membrane. And that stress is basically free radicals. So there's micro amounts of damage. And infrared is the signal that tells the cell that it needs to clean itself, like repair itself.
Regenerate.
So, So we've gone to all this trouble to make energy efficient lights that make light without heat. And the body's like, what the hell? Light without heat? That is a completely unnatural thing. I don't know what to do with that. So it actually causes premature skin aging, macular degeneration, all these other problems. And I believe, although I don't think we've proven yet, that regular exposure to infrared, especially when you're underneath lights like that, is probably going to make you live longer and have eyesight for longer and look better and just general things like that are pretty important.
Oh, yeah. You know this right away. As soon as you get out of the infrared sauna, your body thanks you. You feel great. Your stress levels go down. It literally physically downs cortisol. But you just feel like you've had a massage, acupuncture, a facial, and a workout all in one. And, the body doesn't lie. And whenever the body feels great, you must be doing something really good for yourself. And then,
like heroin or no?
Without any come downs, right?
Sorry.
Funny enough,
stay up, then you're good.
I mean, they actually use the infrared sauna to treat drug and alcohol addiction. That's how good
do they
feel.
Oh, cool.
So it's basically a replacement for those kind of unnatural highs, and it brings you a natural, healthy, sustainable high.
Yeah, and that's what we're all about with HigherDOSE, is finding these things or these exercises or these lifestyle changes that can really make you feel amazing, but without you crashing you down and making it sustainable.
And I think you would learn a lot from Women versus Workout about sustainability.
The hard way, let's just say that.
Do you mind if we chat about that for a bit?
Yeah, I'd love to.
So when you were doing, actually first explain to people who didn't see it, like what was Women versus Workout, and then we'll talk about like the effects of that and how infrared helped you.
Woman versus Workout was just a really cool, positive show that pushed me to my limits. So the idea of the show was for me to go out and try these crazy different extreme sports and crazy challenges, see how well I did at it, and give me a challenge at the end of the day. So you
were like the Tim Ferriss experiment, but earlier and better looking.
Pretty much, yeah. I did it first. No, I'm just kidding, Tim. But Tim is a little bit different because he had weeks to train for it, whereas I had sometimes hours or half a day or nothing at all, and they would just throw me into it and watch and laugh. But it was just really cool. So I did 24-hour Hell Night with Navy SEALs. I tried NASCAR driving. I tried motocross.
That's so cool.
Tough Mudder, which, Katie worked at Tough Mudder. And I did firefighter training. I got to do some really cool stuff.
Wow. And
they just pushed me to my limits, and then they saw what I could do. And sometimes I failed miserably, and sometimes I really rocked it. It was just a really cool show.
So when you were doing these things that might have caused a little bit of stress, adrenal dysfunction, overtraining, just guessing that might have happened on some of these, what happened to you?
So I always like to use the example of the Navy SEAL training. I did 24-hour Hell Night with Navy SEALs, and it was absolute torture. To the point where literally after the 24 hours of training with them, it took me about a week and a half to 2 weeks just to get my nervous system to calm down, because I was just like so wired. I have a really strong mind, and I think that that's really what pushed me through it. But it was super unnatural for me to do what I did. But it's just so funny when you really want something, how you can accomplish whatever you want. And I really did learn that with Navy SEAL training. But yeah, a lot of these different things, like I didn't train properly for them, but I just had a lot of heart and I had a strong mind going into it. So I didn't stop. And I think that's why it was so entertaining to watch, because you could really see me trying hard but struggling. And I think people really resonated with that. But yeah, like that's what really I found infrared from this, because I used to train like a mad woman. I'd run 10 miles in the morning. I would do Muay Thai at night. I didn't stop, but I couldn't sleep through the night without waking up every few hours, needing to drink some almond milk, needing to do something just so my body would be in a calm, rest and digest mode. Because really, I was in fight or flight. I was ready to go. I was ready to run from that saber-toothed tiger that we talk about, So for me, it was really important to find these next level health and wellness technologies that really helped calm me down and bring me to the next level. And, cryo is a perfect example of that too. Cryo does a great job, but hot and cold therapy for any athlete that trains a lot is really important. And infrared's kind of...
When you say cryo, you mean like the liquid nitrogen 3-minute kind of thing, or cold ice baths, or? It
comes from originally just doing ice baths. Like I did a lot of icing and ice baths, but the cryo is a perfect example of someone that doesn't have time. They only have, 3 minutes to do it, and they get that shot, but also they get that high that they're looking for. And it's just really great for recovery. And I really do strongly suggest any athlete that trains a lot to do the cryo and also to do the hot therapy or the hot version of it, which is the infrared.
I would say any human being, because you don't have to train a lot to get benefits. I have a cryotherapy thing. Actually, it's almost directly underneath where I'm sitting right now. Really? I'm on the second floor of Bulletproof Labs here. And yeah, I have one at home, and like every day I do at least once, sometimes twice.
Yeah.
And I'm actually 82 years old now. But it really does make you feel really good. I had someone in their 60s in there yesterday. And just my kids sometimes do it. They don't get a full 3 minutes, but my 8-year-old, she gets in there and she's just happy as a clam because it feels good. It sounds weird, but it actually does. So you do that. What's best? Should I do cryo and then hop in the infrared sauna, or should I do infrared sauna and hop in cryo?
That's a good question, and we actually really don't know how to answer that one, just because there's some conflicting views on whether you should even use it in the same day, and then some people are using it in the same day as a therapy. So I don't think that I know enough about cryo to answer that. Infrared, on the other hand, has been around for a really long time, whereas cryo is, I guess cryo has been around for a really long time too as well, but just using those two modalities in conjunction with each other, I don't think has been studied enough. So I really don't know. That's a good question. I would just do it on either or day. So I'd do the infrared sauna one day, cryo the next, just to be safe.
All this conservative stuff, I tell you. I'm kidding.
I'm Canadian.
The cryo.
Yeah, I'm Canadian.
The cryo thing sweaty, right? That would be a little
that's a good
yeah. That's what I do. I hop in the cryo and then I hop in the infrared, but then maybe my body won't be generating its own heat because it got external heat. But sometimes I do, cryo. There we go. Cryo, hyperbaric, infrared, cryo, just like a little circuit.
Oh my gosh, we're so coming over.
You might as well throw in like a vitamin IV drip afterwards too. And
I might do that, but you have to have a special license that I don't have to do that at home legally. So no comment at this time. Now, for people listening, we might just sound like mad people here. The whole idea, though, is that all of these give you better recovery. Like, these are signals from the environment that you cannot get from Mother Nature. Go lay out in the sun, you get this much infrared. Go in an infrared sauna or an infrared yoga studio where you're doing the higher dose kind of thing, and you're getting a higher dose. The whole point is it's less time, more benefits. And I'm just fundamentally lazy. Like if I could get all of that stuff done in 1 minute of like weird shaking, spinning around, electricity running through me with lasers coming out of my eyes, I would totally do that because then I'm done. And then I can just like go play with my kids and like run Bulletproof and write another blog post and record this or whatever. So to sort of roll your eyes or blow this kind of idea off, it doesn't make sense because if you're going to the gym, just good old fashioned, I'm going to go pump some iron, and you love it, that's cool. If you're going to the gym and you don't love it and you're not getting results for the amount of time you spend, my experience as a former 300-pound fat person is that I get a lot more, quote, workout. I get a lot more of the benefits of this stuff in way less time when I use the right technologies, and just like you're doing. You don't have to buy all this stuff. I do it because I'm doing research. But if you put it in a yoga studio and then someone comes in and they pay for their yoga class the way they were anyway, and now they have like an hour of yoga and they're getting infrared the whole time, okay, it didn't cost you more time to get that extra benefit. So we should be stacking these things up on top of each other. Otherwise, we're just totally wasting huge swaths of our life just doing one thing at a time when we could have had multiple things happening. Like that's my thesis.
Exactly. And I think that's how we really felt too. You know, it was like, how do we bring infrared to the masses? You know, how do we do that when people don't even know what infrared is? I mean, people in the health and wellness space, doctors, fitness, nutritionists, they really know what infrared is. But other than that, you know, you ask your basic person on the street and they don't even know what infrared is. And it's such a solution to so many of our problems that it was like, how do we do this where, you know, people don't even realize, or they don't even have to take any more extra time out of their day to sit in an infrared sauna for an hour, and you get the 2-in-1. And that's really what we're doing. We're solving some problems and just cutting down the time that you have to spend to just take care of yourself. You know, and it should be something that's just incorporated into your day.
And also to your point, Dave, about being quote unquote lazy, we just really think this is a great product for most of Americans who might not have the willpower or the energy to get to the gym, but they still want those results. They still want to feel like they went for a run. They still want to burn calories. And this is perfect for the majority of Americans who that's their situation. And it just gives them an opportunity to get fitter and healthier without any of the work involved. Yeah.
Well, I think about like last night in the sunlight and sauna that I have here, there's not really enough room to do exercise in there. So I edited my board of directors report until my laptop got too hot. And so then I put that outside. And there's a little built-in Android thing on the wall. So I like watched Netflix while I was sitting in there, which I can't say I dislike watching Netflix, but it wasn't like the most useful thing I probably could have done while I was doing that. I would have loved to have been doing yoga while I was getting the benefits of the infrared, but it's not something that I have the capability for at home right now. The other thing is, okay, I had breakfast with my kids this morning, and it actually would have been really neat to have a far infrared emitter in the room. Like, there's no reason that while we're sitting around the table, actually, I was drinking Bulletproof coffee, so were they, but they also ate like grass-fed sausages of some sort and avocados or whatever. But I would have loved to have that time and just be like, oh, look, we're all getting basically toasty warm with infrared. Is that something that you foresee happening? Like, are we going to build this into our living spaces as well as our workout spaces?
That's the idea.
Yeah,
I mean, basically, you know, our strategy for introducing infrared to the masses was this yoga approach because we thought we could hit a large population relatively quickly, basically educate on the product and then get it into people's homes. So we want to do everything from panels, heaters, to more portable infrared saunas for people's homes. Okay.
So right now, if a yoga studio wanted to totally like get outfitted with your stuff from HigherDOSE, I mean, is this like affordable? Is it not affordable?
Yeah, and that's another really great thing about the infrared is not only does infrared save on energy on your electric bill because it takes less energy to heat a room, but the panels are extremely affordable. We always like to say like starting rate, like a standard size yoga studio is around $10,000 to outfit, up to $25,000 for a really big room. But it's completely affordable. It lasts for a really long time. The panels last forever. We have warranties on them. You'll be extremely happy about it. And again, you'll probably save much more on your electric bills with the infrared as opposed to the traditional style of heating, which is a home run.
And not only that, it gets your customers addicted. So they'll just keep coming back.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Like you go, I just want to go into the infrared room and just like lie there. especially in the winter time, seasonal affective disorder, feeling freezing, your body's getting all achy because, sometimes it's a lot harder to warm up the body in the winter and arthritis acts up or inflammation acts up. But as soon as you get in that infrared room, the blood starts pumping, your muscles open up. It feels so therapeutic that you just want to lie there and just like experience the infrared.
Okay, so that's a pretty good argument. Well,
I feel like I'm putting you to sleep right now.
No. I'm just thinking about it. Like, I have radiant heat floors in my house, which is really awesome. And when you go to a yoga studio with like forced air, or any workout facility, in fact, I wrote a blog post a while ago about air quality in gyms, and there's all sorts of weird crap in the air there. Like, they have mold problems in the ductwork. Some of them do, not all of them do, but there's like rubber particles and off-gassing stuff like formaldehyde, and so you can actually get some substantial indoor air pollution in gyms depending on whether they put in air filtration in. A few people were like, Dave, you're a wuss, and others were like, I own a gym, and this is totally true. And it's like, okay, I guess I'm a wuss, whatever. But
then on top of that, the artificial lights that poison you too as well. So it's just the atmosphere is so awful.
In fact, my first Bikram class was in London, and I was like, I want to detox. I just got off the airplane. I'll go do this, and it had these horrible fluorescent lights. And like halfway through, fluorescent lights give me migraines. They always have, and I just figured out, I did testing with Helen Erlin. She did her training on me. She's the one who identified fluorescent light sensitivity. That's why I have my cool, funky colored sunglasses. But she was telling me some more things like this. I'm like, that's why I was getting so dizzy. It wasn't just the heat. It was that I had like bad, stinky air. I had really low quality, super bright fluorescent lights. And it was like the opposite of a relaxing yoga experience. And I imagine if it had infrared and clean air and maybe natural lighting, that would have been a totally cool thing to do. But as it was, like 3/4 of the way through, I'm like, I don't want to be here. Like, I'm done. And I left.
Yeah. A lot of studios are turning down the lights a little bit, doing candlelight as well.
Yeah.
And you know what? All of these different technologies or just different systems really help you go inward too a lot more because you feel less distracted. When the lights are down, the infrared makes you go inward and feel great. The sweating, you get really into it. You get really into the flow, which is ultimately what yoga is about. Is about coming onto your mat, going inward, and doing the practice for yourself, and not being competitive, or not feeling like you're going to pass out, or not feeling like you're not warm enough that you can't even get into the posture itself. So, infrared really just takes your whole yoga practice to the next level and is extremely complementary.
All right. I think by now there's lots of people listening going, I really want to have infrared in my yoga studio. And if so, you can tell your yoga people that you really want them to check out the HigherDOSE stuff.
Yeah, check out the HigherDOSE site. There's much more information on there. We didn't even start to scratch the surface of the benefits of infrared. So, all the information's on there. We try to make it as easy for you guys to absorb the information because there is a lot. But you guys can check us out at higherdoseinfrared.com. And there's lots, there's an inquiry sheet right on there. So if you guys want a quote, we can get that out to you within 10 minutes. Feel free to contact us up with any questions. And yeah, hopefully you'll be seeing us everywhere very soon.
Well, congratulations on your success so far. It's an innovative idea. You're going to spend an hour exercising. You might as well look at your infrared at the same time. Seems kind of obvious, except no one has done it before. So thank you. I love that you're saving people time that way.
Yeah. When are you coming out to New York to try it?
I think I'm in New York sometime in the first quarter. I know I'm there at least once, but whether I might be going to Norway right afterwards. So I know all of Norway's excited. I would be on sled dogs if it happens, or with sled dogs, but I don't know if that's going to happen. So I don't know. I'll talk to my calendar people, and if possible, I'll come by and do a yoga class, and you guys can laugh at my poor form.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you really could do meditation in there. You could do Pilates in there. You could do rolling out classes. You can do bar classes. Any sort of like functional training that makes you focus on, the breathing and the structure of the actual workout. It's so complimentary for the infrared because the infrared does the workout for you.
I hear you there. In fact, it's reminding me that I really should do more yoga. I've done advanced yoga, but I'm not doing yoga now. So I imagine if I went to like a really good yoga class in New York, I would embarrass myself because I'd probably fall over in crow pose on my face, and it would just be messy.
The lights are down though.
Yeah.
If we're just on candles, we're okay. But I can get my ankle behind my head still, so that's pretty legit. So I'll own that.
Keep working at it.
Yeah, I could probably do it now, but I won't because that would be embarrassing. Now, there's a question I want to ask you. Normally, I say, what are your top 3 recommendations for someone who'd want to kick more ass at life? But we've got 2 of you on here. So how about each of you has 2 recommendations for people who just want to perform better at everything they do? So it doesn't have to be infrared or anything, but just everything you've learned in your business, career, in your life, in exercise, whatever. Okay, the 2 most important things. So Lauren, you want to go first?
I think number 1 is your thought patterns, toxic thoughts, the way you think, if you think positively, if you don't. I think that's the number 1 thing, is just having like a positive outlook on life. And really, when you start to learn that, you thinking negative thoughts have a negative reaction on the body, that's huge, And even with working out, it's like you go to work out, you got to think that you can, or you got to enjoy it while you're doing it. Otherwise, it could be torturous for you. So I think that just having the right mindset, being super positive and being super grateful for where you're at, and just keep pushing it and then just enjoying the experience is probably the most important thing. But from a day-to-day standpoint, I would just definitely say nutrition, number 1. It's really important what you eat. Energy in is energy out. So I try to eat, a very clean diet and make sure that, I'm refueling for the kind of output that I need to have. Yeah, I'm also a nutritionist too, so I'm very passionate about nutrition and just noticing a big difference in my performance based on what I eat. But, and then sleep. Sleep's huge. Sleep recovery, infrared. I think that the body is meant to heal itself. And if you give it a space where it can do that, you'll be around for a really long time.
Awesome. And as a nutritionist, you were telling me before we started recording, you've been on Bulletproof Coffee for 3 years?
I've been on Bulletproof Coffee, I would say, for about 3 years. But I've been advocating and teaching and taking my Bulletproof Coffee to the next level. I constantly am putting different herbs and mushrooms in there. I love turmeric and cinnamon, but really it's something that I play with every day, and I absolutely love it, and I thank you for that.
Oh, you're so welcome. Sometimes people are like, well, are there any nutritionists who use Bulletproof Coffee? I'm like, yeah, there's like thousands, but it's always cool when you're on the air as someone who's trained in nutrition is doing it. And thanks for mentioning it. Katie, what are your answers to this? If I want to kick ass at everything I do, help me.
I bet Lauren can guess what I'm going to say, and I'm so glad you asked, Dave. I'm actually taking a look at it right now. It's my walking treadmill desk. It's my number 1 health and productivity hack. It's actually something I discovered when I was second in command at the San Francisco Marathon. When I wasn't running, I started doing my work on a treadmill desk, and my productivity and focus was just through the roof. Because as you know, when you're walking or running, you're getting tons of oxygen and blood flow to your brain. So you can just be really focused, get a ton of work done in a short amount of time, and it's higher quality output than I would do otherwise. So
awesome. So walking treadmill desk.
Yeah, that's product number 2 from HigherDOSE.
You can see how different we are right now, right?
Totally. Like, this is like so much work. No, I'm kidding. Right.
It's so good.
I'm like, Katie, can you write my emails, please?
And then my second one, I guess it's hard to choose just 2, but I really believe in the power of music. And I guess to Lauren's point about regulating your thoughts and emotions, I actually, not only do I just love and enjoy music, but I actually think you can really use music as almost like neuro-linguistic programming, where if you need to get yourself in a certain state of mind or raise your energy level, you can actually create playlists that bring you to that place where you want to be. But just be careful if you combine the treadmill desk with a super upbeat playlist, because you might sort of scare everyone around you.
And your business partner yakking in your ear, it can be a little bit hectic.
So I guess you make it go slow enough. I'm not going to put a treadmill under my desk because, well, I can't turn the camera on now, but I have the coolest desk setup of my entire life now, and it's just not going to change. I have a stand desk, one of the electric up and down standing desks. But it has a custom walnut top on it, and then I have a early 19th century roll top desk that's been converted to a standing desk, and it looks like, I don't know, some giant behemoth thing. So there's just no room under that for my treadmill. But when I get on calls, sometimes I have the treadmill downstairs hooked up to an oxygen machine, because that's just like how I roll. I'm not breathing the oxygen, but if I'm on a call and I'm on the treadmill, it's always at an incline. I always start breathing hard. And I kind of think that people think I sound like a crazy person.
Right.
How do you not sound like a crazy person on your standing desk?
Well, I keep it at a pretty reasonable pace. So usually just around 2 miles an hour. I don't do an incline or anything like that. And I would say I actually use it more for like reports, emails, PowerPoint, writing articles.
Okay.
Everything. I do calls occasionally.
All right, so maybe I just shouldn't do calls, but I don't have a computer set up, so I just don't see myself changing that. I mean, there's a certain amount of I have to like my desk. All right. Well, Lauren and Katie, thank you for coming on Bulletproof Radio. People can find your stuff at HigherDOSEinfrared.com.
Yeah, and follow us on Instagram at higher.dose, HigherDOSE. Because we have some cool tips just on how to release dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins.
Beautiful. Have an awesome day. Thanks for being on Bulletproof Radio.
Thanks so much, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
If you enjoyed today's episode of Bulletproof Radio, you know what to do. Go out there and learn a little bit more about infrared, because infrared's, well, it's good stuff and I use it. And I think if you do it in a yoga studio, that would be really cool. The other thing you could do is you could head out there to bulletproof.com and look at Homebiotic, because this stuff, like having the right species of bacteria present in your environment, is how we evolved. And it's not enough to just have it in a pill that you take with your food or just eat some fermented veggies. You want this stuff that floats around you to be the right stuff. And this is something that is part of our environment. It always has been. And it's something that we lost when we went into our buildings. And if you smuggle it into your yoga studio and accidentally spray some around, I'm sure that, well, it just might happen. Have an awesome day. And I look forward to hearing from you on Facebook. Give me some comments, give me some questions, tell me who you want me to interview so I can do it. Have an awesome day.